What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to GAA Fan TV, the show that keeps you up to date with everything that is happening in the world of both GAA football and hurling. And yeah, we have quite some action to get through this weekend, some interesting fixtures to look at in both football and hurling. And yeah, it's, the championship is in full flow at the moment. Games are kicking every week, every weekend. Qualifiers, of course, are coming soon as well. Let me guys know what you lads are thinking of the game so far. Are you enjoying the action? Have you been to many games? Who you're supporting, etc. But yeah, we're going to get cracking straight into it now. We're going to start off by talking a bit about the Munster Hurling Championship. Some interesting games to look at here. Cork versus Limerick. Cork at home. Cork probably been the best side in Munster so far, in my opinion. They let themselves down slightly in the second half versus Tipperary, but I think that was more Tipperary just catching Cork out by how well they played, considering how poor they had played in that first half. Home advantage will be massive for them in this game. We all know how important that was when they played Clare. And Limerick are a young team. They're still progressing. They're still coming through. Whether they're going to make that top three is still in question. I feel like it's probably going to be like Cork, Clare, Tipperary, or Limerick. I think Tipperary or Limerick could be the two that are fighting it out. And when them two play each other, it could be very interesting to see how important and how significant that game is, of course, depending on how results go this weekend. But I am looking heavily at Cork at home, the influence of Shane Kingston, how good he was. Can he continue his impact in this game? And can Limerick follow up from a really strong performance in that game against Tipperary? Of course, going away from home will be difficult, but they'll have that week off, week in preparation. They'll be preparing for this game. They'll have watched Cork, I'm pretty sure, in that game against Tipperary and trying to pick up on any sort of weaknesses. So it's going to be close. I do fancy Cork though to get the job done, but I do think it's going to be a close game. So I'll go with Cork to win by 3 points, and then Waterford versus Tipperary. Tipperary for me have the momentum coming into this game now. Something clicked in that second half against Cork. John McGrath rallying Tipperary, Ronan Marr of course as well, Brendan Marr. They kicked it on a bit more in that second half in my opinion. And yeah, I fancy Tipperary to get this job done. Waterford have a lot of injuries at the moment. The injuries don't seem to be slowing down. And yeah, you have to feel for Peter McGrath, the Waterford manager. But look, listen, I fancy Tipperary to win this one by 4 points. I think they'll just have too much in the end for Waterford. As long as they bring that intensity that they brought in the second half against Cork. But are they going to start off like that? Is it going to be slow? It's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be close to certain points, but I just fancy Tipperary to get over the line. And then of course we've got Wexford versus Galway over in the Leinster Championship, and I'm really fascinated by this one actually, because Wexford are looking very, very good at the moment. They got past Dublin in the end. They had to rally a bit late. They probably didn't look as good as what they would have liked, but they were fantastic against Offaly, controlling the game. They're very, very good going forward. They score a lot of goals, Wexford. And this will be a test for Galway. I think, Kilkenny was a massive test, and it's hard to tell who's on a higher level at the moment between Kilkenny and Wexford. You'd probably go with Kilkenny just because of winning the National League and the experience they have and the players they have and everything else that goes with it. Whereas Wexford, Kilkenny have been there and done it. Wexford haven't. But this is going to be very interesting. Joe Canning is in phenomenal form at the moment for Galway. When you've got a hurler like him in your team, you've always got a chance to win the game. But I think this will be very, very close. I think Galway will just edge it by 3 or 4 points. I fancy Galway to play very similarly to what they did against Kilkenny, control the game, dictate the game, and just have too much for Wexford in the end. And what about a big game, this one between Dublin and Offaly? It's not really a big game in terms of the outcome of either side's future or in the championship. Neither side is going to be in that top three. I think that's pretty clear. But which side is going to get relegated and which side is going to stay up? This is going to be Offaly's last game in the championship this year. I don't think there's a point denying that. And as for Dublin, obviously they'll still have to play Galway, but it's a huge game for Dublin in my opinion, because 2 games against Kilkenny and Wexford, we played well, we were up there. Ryan Sutcliffe was very good. We looked good, we looked very good. David Tracy, of course, getting some good points in those matches, but we just let ourselves down on the closing stages. Nerves maybe, still Pat Gilroy's first year. Well, this will just be a huge win, just to up the confidence in Dublin. I think if we were going to end the year without a win and getting relegated, that would be a huge loss. To be playing in the Joe McDonagh Cup next year. That's no disrespect to it, but I just feel like if we want to kick on a bit more, I feel like we belong in this division. I think we've shown that in our 2 games against both Wexford and Kilkenny. But it's going to be tough. Offaly are going to want to respond from that game last week. 3 players sent off. Wouldn't read too much into the scoreline in my opinion. I still think Offaly are a good player, or a good team. Shane Dooley pretty impressive for me so far, but I fancy Dublin to get the job done. The fact we're playing at home as well in Parnell Park, I think that's a massive difference. And yeah, I fancy us to get the job done. Dublin to win by 4 points. And I will be keeping my eyes on the Joe McDonagh Cup because it's a big game for Westmeath. If they can get past Antrim, they will have won 4 from 4 in the Joe McDonagh Cup, and that will be them pretty much promoted to the Leinster Championship next year, and that would be a massive achievement for Westmeath. Maybe it's argued whether they actually are better than Offaly or not, but look, listen, that's how sport works. That's how this new system works, and Westmeath deserve it if they do go ahead and pull it off. However, defeat to Antrim, and it is wide open again. Both teams would be on 6 points going into the final game. If Laois were to win, then they would be on 6 points as well, I believe. So it is game on without doubt, in my opinion. I think Laois would actually be on 4 points. But it would be game on going into that last game. Westmeath, of course, having the home advantage is key. They've been very impressive so far in the John McDonagh Cup, in my opinion. Antrim have done well as well, though, to be fair. I don't think many people expected them to be up there, and they've done the job pretty well. So, going to be interesting to see how that goes, and who, of course, because the way the John McDonagh Cup, the way it works is that the team who finishes first will get promoted to the Leinster Championship. And the team, of course, the top 2 in the John McDonagh Cup will go into the All-Ireland quarterfinals for this year, facing the 3rd team in each of the provinces. I think it's like that. I'm not 100% sure how it works. It's pretty confusing, but I think that is how it goes. So it is going to be interesting to see how that pans out. And I think Westmeath and Antrim are probably the 2 strongest in this John McDonagh Cup, although Laois might argue that point. And even to be fair, Carlow have been doing pretty well as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how that gets on. I'm going to be keeping my eye closely on it. And yeah, it's going to be interesting. Moving across to football, just 3 games to talk about this weekend. Not a lot going on in the football world this weekend. Kerry taking on Clare. I expect Kerry to get the job done here, get a win pretty comfortably. Clare, though, to be fair, were really good when they played Limerick, but I think everyone is kind of going by the narrative that Limerick were just really, really bad, whereas I still think Clare are pretty good in my opinion. Finished 3rd in Division 2. I think they'll push Kerry a lot closer than people think, because I think people are just looking at Kerry as like they're just going to completely destroy Clare. I don't quite believe that. However, I do believe that Kerry are the closest team to challenging Dublin for the All-Ireland this year. They're going to be as close as anyone this year, in my opinion. I think there's even a strong possibility that Kerry and Dublin meet in the All-Ireland final. If not, I would expect them to meet in a semi-final. I feel like they are the 2 strongest teams in the country, in my opinion. And I do think Kerry will win the Munster Championship and win this game. A couple of youthful players coming through. That could be the only problem, is trying to get these players used to and try to get them up to the standard. But they still have a lot of experience as well. And of course, it'll be interesting to see how David Clifford gets on in his first senior championship season as a Kerry footballer. So yeah, I expect Kerry to get the job done. Don't think it's going to be as dominant as many people suggest it will be, but I do think Kerry will win by 4 points. And then Galway versus Sligo. I suppose this is kind of similar in some ways. Galway heavy favourites in this one, and to be honest, I think rightly so. I think this is slightly different. Sligo much lower down the pecking order in GAA, got past the London team. That was competitive enough for their level, good enough game for their level. But yeah, you would expect Galway to win this one pretty comfortably. Obviously, they do adapt a pretty defensive approach. I think they'll probably be a bit more attacking in this game just because of the opposition they're playing, and I expect them to control the game very much. I think they'll be ahead for the majority of the game. I'd be very surprised if Sligo, were in front of any points late in the game. But yeah, I fancy Galway to get the job done by 6 points. And then finally, we have Monaghan versus Fermanagh. Another what should be competitive game, but also has the potential for a one-sided affair just because of how good Monaghan were in that game against Tyrone. and if they adopt them same principles going into the game against Fermanagh, you would expect them to cruise through this game. And a lot of people are looking at Monaghan now as potential All-Ireland candidates, or a potential team to challenge the likes of Dublin, Kerry or Mayo if they do reach that same height as they did last year. A fantastic attacking performance with the likes of Conor McManus. You know, he was fantastic, wasn't he, in that game against Tyrone. Fermanagh, you know, I know a lot of people say Armagh were dreadful in that game, which they were. We still have to give Fermanagh a bit of credit, but yeah, I would expect Monaghan to win pretty comfortably past Fermanagh. I'll go with them getting a 5-point victory. Anyway guys, that is going to be the end of the video. Let me know what you guys think is going to happen this weekend and some of the upcoming games. I'm interested to see what happens, of course. There's not as much action this weekend as there was last weekend or next weekend, but nonetheless some interesting games to keep your eyes on. And yeah lads, let me know what you guys think will happen. Am I right, am I wrong? And yeah, if I have anything left to say, so I'll see you when I see you. Alright, good luck.